Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and my guest today is Lisa Fischer, who's been a journalist in Arkansas in the US since the mid-1980s. And now she's also a certified integrative nutrition health coach, and her passion is to help women live healthier lives with fewer medications, and she's also an intermittent faster. And did I mention she's sugar-free as well? And Lisa and I talk about all sorts of things in this episode, including hormones, stress and cortisol, sunshine, fasting, and, sugar. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_Life After Sugar. All right, let's get to my chat with Lisa. Okay, so I'm here today with Lisa. And Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about how you grew up with food and especially sugar in the United States, right?
Yes, in the United States. I have a Southern accent now, a little hoarse from the pollen. But I was born in Newark, New Jersey, kind of what they call the armpit of America. It's really, New Jersey is the Garden State, people, and it's beautiful. But I was raised there for till I was about 10. My mother and I moved to New Orleans, which is obviously a food city, but food was just fuel for me. It meant nothing other than so I could wake up tomorrow because, I get to eat. Okay. And then when I went to college, I kind of put on that freshman 10 probably. And that's when I kind of started noticing that the number on the scale, because I was taller than everybody for a long time now, 5'8's not tall, but when I was 12, I went through puberty early. I was about 5'7 at 12, 5'8. I weighed more than my peers. And I remember going, it bothered me because they were 5'2", diminutive little things, but they were 105 or 10 pounds. I was 125, let's say. I'm about 150 now. So that was the first time a number or food or anything started saying my name. Went to college, and when I put on that weight, then I noticed that I was doing what everybody else did to lose that freshman 10 or 15. Now, they smoked cigarettes. I did not, but I drank beer in college. That obviously puts weight around your midsection. But then we all did jazzercise and Jane Fonda. This was the 1980s.
Yes.
And so we did that because the harder we worked, the more calories we burned. It really didn't do much to my weight. I just was growing really in a natural progression, biologically, evolutionarily, just I was getting older and putting on weight, but I was still slim. I did go into a career that's very visual, and I went into TV. And so the first things they don't do this now. I mean, you can see because of discrimination, but the first things they would talk to you about were your weight and how you looked.
If you were a woman.
Yeah, women, that's right. The men never got it. Dumpy, frumpy, overweight, gray hair, bald, moles on the back of their necks, nothing. The women, they always mention the women. And so then my weight became something that I focused on because I remember my news director and the executive manager of the TV station saying that he would say, now don't put on any weight. So that kind of always hung over my head. And so in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, I started looking at calorie counts. I would, drink a slim fast, which is nothing but processed food crap. And besides that, it made you hungry later. That I didn't understand the science behind insulin. And it's a fat storing hormone, and any flavor at all produce this fat storing hormone. I had a client this week because I health coach people now, especially with fasting. And she said, but Lisa, I don't eat until noon. I said, oh, so what do you do in the morning? She goes, I have 2 Diet Cokes, and well, your body thinks you're eating.
Yeah.
So Netta, to explain that to people, to come out of the calorie world that we had to do, and now to re-educate people, because her medical doctor is not giving her that information. Some may be. I don't want to make a blanket statement at all, but that wrong, erroneous information is still out there. So I was a part of that cycle, and then hit 30 and probably put on about 5 or 10. And I now know I was insulin resistant because I would have a pimple every month, which is the high aldosterone or testosterone. I would have heavy periods and the 5 or 10 pound weight gain. Now I know there are people listening saying, please don't even talk to me about, having any type of insulin resistance or a little bit of PCOS. I've gained 100 pounds. So I understand there are people that suffered more, but it was enough that it made me say, something's not right. Why do I do this every month? And then it would go away. I very happily had 3 healthy pregnancies, 3 9 and a half pound babies, which could be a little insulin resistance. Now I know that. But then in my 40s, I kind of retired from TV. I homeschooled my kids. I still did TV for people, but I wasn't on the radio every day because I was homeschooling my kids. And then I got back in media in my 40s. I came out of retirement like Michael Jordan did. No, I came out of retirement for that and did morning radio. And that was the first time that so I was about 42, which I was perimenopausal, and my thyroid had just about burned out. My adrenals weren't in great shape. I was getting up at 3:45, 4 a.m., cortisol, all those things. I'm getting to the punchline, Ned, I promise.
It's okay.
But all those things are pointing to the fact that I had some insulin resistance. I had some hormonal dysregulation, and that's what put on the 10 or 15 pounds, not the fact I couldn't run it off because I picked up running. I picked up, high cardio things. People say to eat more and eat more, move less. No, wait, eat less, move more.
Yes.
No, I'm saying the opposite. Eat more and move less cardio.
What?
So now that's in my 60s. I now eat more. I eat more protein and I move less with cardio, and I do more weightlifting and resistance. And I take walks every day to get the sunlight.
That is mind-blowing on several levels. First of all, the whole eat more approach is like completely the opposite of the diet culture that we grew up in. And then the fact that you're an intermittent faster and you're saying eat more, for anyone not familiar with intermittent fasting, that sounds like just an impossibility. And so
it sounds heretical almost, like I'm making you can't do that. It's a religious statement. You can't do that. And this is so intermittent fasting changed my life in 2017. I tell the story, but my son is in college. He listened. It took 7 hours to drive back to Arkansas from Baton Rouge. He's at LSU, an engineering student. He'd say, Mom, Have you heard about intermittent fasting? I said, if you're telling me this because you think I need to lose weight, you won't see your next birthday, is what I said. And he said, no, I'm telling you because you talk about health. And I go, what does starving yourself have to do with health? He
Mhm.
said, I listened to this podcast with these two women. They have real Southern accents and they giggle a lot. It was Jen Stevens and Melanie Avalon.
Yeah.
He said, you need to listen to that. And so that changed my perspective on insulin and calories and glucose. And so I did adopt immediately an 18 and 6 way of eating.
Which
But
is what?
because I was starting out I ate at 12:30 till about 6:30. And, I drank water before. I'm not a coffee drinker or anything. Now I'm having lime flavored sparkling water because my window is open, my eating window.
Mhm.
And so I did that for a long time. That worked well for me. But then sometimes as we age, we need to tweak that. So
Sure.
now I've tweaked it. And I'm not going to be on the front cover of Intermittent Fasting Weekly or whatever magazine because now I'm eating because we all skipped breakfast in the beginning when we first started it. Now I'm seeing with circadian rhythms, we need to eat and have our eating done before the sun sets. When the sun comes up, during those times of sunlight. So now I'm eating in the morning and I'm eating till about 2-ish or 3. But Netta, because I lift weights 4 days a week, I'm allowing myself, if at 4 o'clock I have true hunger, I'll eat some boiled eggs, some egg salad. I keep a lot of beef. I eat a lot of beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I'll eat some beef and bone broth. Whereas I'm eating more frequently now, but I'm still, I saw one of the social media influencers say, I still intermittent fast, but it's more of a time restricted feeding because I was doing long fasts and it was tanking my cortisol.
What does that mean?
So cortisol is the fight or flight hormone that your body produces as you get up. As the sun rises, you should see a spike in your cortisol. You can check it with the saliva test. You can check it with blood labs, but you'd have to go several times during the day. So it's easier to do a saliva test. ZRT Labs is the most common one. It's in the US. I would assume they also have Canadian.
Maybe I'm not super up on that.
Well, it's a good thing. So many of us have lived lives where we were raising kids, and you may not have been on the radio, but you had to get the kids to a place at a certain time every day. And if you didn't, it was on you.
Yep.
You were the reason, and so it all fell apart. So that cortisol was pumping, and it
Yes.
pumped when you had to pick them up because you had to be in the carpool line at the right time or pick them up at the bus stop. Then you had to get them to their activities. Cortisol, 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 cortisol. So the thing about and cortisol, our fight or flight hormone, meaning if we're being chased by the Siberian tiger, we're going to outrun it. Or if you've seen the stories of the car runs over a kid and the mom lifts the car up. It's her cortisol. So you need it. It's superhuman, makes you superhuman. But too much of it is not a good thing. And we all live lives now that we're on go, 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 go. And the thing about fasting is it produces this hormetic stress, which you need hormesis. You need some hormetic stress. You just need a break from it. Or I did. So
And
I
what is
tested.
traumatic? Can you just?
So hormetic is it's the uncomfortable stress that your body needs. It's the people that do the cold submersion,
Hmm.
cold plunging. I just read an article that said it's not great for women over 40 because of our inability to regulate our cortisol. Because as we age, we no longer have adrenal function. But I don't think I'm saying this right. It's something about our adrenals at that point. Our ovaries are dead, but our adrenals are pushing out too much cortisol. We don't have the balance of a menstrual cycle that puts us in a luteal phase and the way God designed us. And menopause is a way God designed us, but it's real uncomfortable unless you're doing bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. We can
Yeah,
talk about that too.
we can. Yeah, because I am. I'm doing it, and it's very comfortable. Thank you.
Oh, it's so wonderful. I have good skin. I feel good. My hair is thick and full. It's all because I'm Lisa Fischer 2.0.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so with that hormetic stress, hormesis is, when you sprinters, that's a lot of hormesis or lifting weights. It's good. Your body needs a little push. but I was fasting too much and too long. And how I knew was my husband and I were doing it together, and we were, he's competitive. I'm really not. I'm here for the fun and the
Yep.
giggles.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so he said, well, let's do a 2-day fast. I think we were doing it once a week for a while. I noticed my weight started going up. And I
Huh.
was like, how is that possible? There are 2 days a week I'm not eating. And then the other days I eat a pretty much, ketovore diet. It was my cortisol had spiked and then it bottomed out.
Huh.
So I had a couple of tests. You can do the dried urine test for comprehensive hormones, the Dutch test. You can find it online, find a provider who can read it. And then I did a saliva test. So in the morning, your cortisol should spike. As the sun comes up, that's your body's way of making your own caffeine. It's your own stimulant, is that cortisol. And then it's slowly through the day. So at night, night, mine was dead. It didn't spike or anything. It was flat because it had tuckered out.
Uh-huh.
Some people will say, well, there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. Well, my adrenals had flatlined. I don't care what you call it. I just wasn't able to function at my Lisa Fischer. And I do have a high capacity. I will say that. I do more by noon than people do sometimes in a few days.
I believe
So
you.
by that nature, I have the proclivity then to burn out my adrenals
Yeah.
because I'm on full throttle all the time. I can't help it. But I've rested more. I've done more B vitamins. In fact, before we even talked, I had 20 minutes in the sun. I'm doing all those things to regulate. So now I'm eating earlier in the day.
Okay.
I'll eat lunch a little later. I'm just really not hungry right now. And then if I have a weightlifting day, I didn't have it today, um, but I kind of adjust. And sometimes I might even have a little bite of some food later, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's okay. Absolutely. Gosh. Now that sounds to my ear, I mean, I understand what you were talking about because I'm familiar with the terms and with that type of explanation of human biology that we don't get from regular doctors or the diet culture,
Yeah, well,
especially.
there's no money to be made on us because we are moving toward good health.
Damn. Yes, absolutely. And so here's the next question then. All right, what has your story, got to do with sugar, if anything?
Well, sugar also raises cortisol.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we know sugar's effect on the brain, and it's more addictive than cocaine. So for me, it's just, I admire you so much, and you explained it to me on my podcast. Was name a food you don't like. I said, oh, it's easy. It's liver. You said you would never eat liver. You couldn't eat liver. I went, oh, well, no, it's oh. You said that's how I feel about sugar.
Yeah.
I love how you've switched the narrative to your brain. You've totally rewired your brain, and I'm not there. And I respect you. In fact, I gave up alcohol a year ago just because as we age, we also don't metabolize, often don't produce the enzymes to metabolize alcohol. Or same thing, we have an intolerance to caffeine. Um, I can't, I'm super sensitive, right?
Okay.
So I gave up alcohol. Last night we had a dinner party for 60 people in our home.
Whoa.
International foods. It was really amazing. The people are from Cuba, and the foods were European and South
Yummy.
American. But I had sugar, and listen to me today. I have a sugar hangover.
Really?
It affects me, and I hope to get to the point someday where because you asked me if I was a moderator or an abstainer,
Yeah.
and I said I'm more of a moderator. I don't have an all or nothing personality because, like, I gave up alcohol, but maybe if someone gave me a pina colada, I might have like, I don't care. I
Right.
just don't even care about it. I would like to make that my goal to move to the point where I would have the same feeling about sugar
Yeah.
because knowing what sugar does to my cortisol, to my overall health, to the way I feel. So I have the same hangover effect eating that fruit tart with the almond flour. Though it was almond flour, it wasn't gluten,
Yeah.
but I hope someday, and I know I could do it. It's just making up my mind.
Yeah, I feel like it's not so much doing it as letting it happen,
What
right?
do you mean by that? Letting
In
it
the
happen?
sense that, you're saying that I rewired my brain. I actually don't have that capacity, knowledge, or skill to rewire anything, let alone my brain. But what I did was to let my brain, I suppose, rewire itself. I
Oh,
allowed
yeah,
it to happen.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
And so by allowing that to happen, that just means that I didn't feed my brain sweet tastes of any type or from any source for a certain period of time, which was only a couple of weeks actually. And that kick-started the rewiring despite my best
yeah.
efforts. Yeah. So it wasn't actually, I always feel like it wasn't what I did, it's more like what I didn't do.
Well, again, it goes back to kind of our physiology, I mean, evolutionarily, biology. There's so many things that are involved that we have tainted the gene pool. I mean, I say that loosely because I know anyone can reverse any condition. I see it all the time. Intermittent fasting and the cancer community, guys, it's impressive. So I know we can do those things, and I know people who give up sugar also do those same things. So there's some volition on your part. You made some choices, and you saw the fruit of your labor
Yeah, no
with
pun
the
intended. Yeah,
yeah, right.
absolutely.
Right.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. But and although I don't want to minimize my part that I had to play in this, actually the biggest part I feel was being open-minded enough to try it. Right.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't jump out of bed one morning and say, hey, guess what? I want to give up sugar and sweet foods. Not at all. I fought it and kicking and screaming, but I was feeling that bad and that desperate that that made
Mhm.
me willing to give it a try. And that approach, whatever the sort of the catalyst of let's give it a try, changed my life.
Well, I too think that's what's so good about this information age and the fact that we have social media to learn more. It also taints our brains too, and the dopamine hits are unhealthy. But the good side of this is in this community, then it helps you learn things like, oh, and seed oils aren't good. Okay, let me cross that off. Oh, if God made it, I should eat it. Beef tallow, pork lard. It starts putting you on a path to be the best Netta you could be, or to be the best Lisa, or anyone listening, be the best you can be. Again, take some effort on your part, but you're seeing that the little dominoes fall pretty easily if you pursue it.
Yeah.
There's just a good reward. There's such a good ROI, return on investment, for
Yeah.
people who make these choices, whether it's even if you cut your eating window, because like my client, well, I'm not eating till noon. I just have a couple of Diet Cokes. Oh, your pancreas thinks you're eating,
Yeah.
and your hypothalamus thinks you're eating, and it sent out some insulin to help you. And just the fact that I saw her again yesterday, she said, yeah, I'm eating my real food now. I'm not drinking my Diet Coke till noon because it's not my choice for her. I wouldn't want her to drink Diet Cokes, but you know what? it's her body and her choice.
Exactly.
You do
Yeah,
what she wants.
it
But
always
she said,
is.
yeah, I'm eating from about noon till about 7 now. And we know the progression of that, then you realize you have a smaller eating window just because of life. And then you also know there are days you have longer eating windows.
Yeah, we're not robots, it's not
No.
always the
Mm-mm,
same. And when you say
mm-mm.
an eating window from, let's say, 12 to 7 or whatever, is that non-stop eating?
It is not. And that's the other beauty about intermittent fasting is the eat, stop, eat approach. So if you understand that insulin resistance, Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Ben Bickman, leaders, obviously Ben Bickman's a PhD leader in metabolism, the foremost authority actually probably on metabolic processes like what we're talking about. They say that I think it's 92% of the world is unhealthy somehow metabolically. Well, people say, no, my doctor said my cholesterol's fine. I'm good.
Mm.
But has your doctor checked? Has he looked under the hood? And
Mhm.
when you look under the hood, if you're eating all day, um, if you had water that came under your car, it would rust. It would it's the glycation process that the glucose goddess kind of talks about. And so when we eat, we're releasing all the juices we need to eat. So important. You can't live without insulin,
Mm.
but you're living with too much of it, likely. I mean, 92% of the audience is likely in some type of metabolic dysfunction, and that includes insulin resistance. And until you have your fasting insulin measured, and that's not your glucose, but when you cut the amount of hours in the day you're eating, and then you cut the amount of times you ask insulin, insulin is so important, but he needs to go home. He needs to take a rest. He needs a night night. So he needs to come out for your first meal of the day, let him take a little rest. And then if you want another meal, or even if you have to have another meal, whatever you choose, don't eat in between meals either. You don't need fourth meal. You don't need a 10 and 2 snack. You don't need a snack. You
Mm.
don't need to drive through. You don't have to stop at a gas station and get a candy bar the rest of your life. You won't die. You will die eating it, though.
I mean, we're all gonna die eventually, but in
That's
the
right.
sense that, yeah, it just goes against everything we've been told. It's so difficult to make that shift, to even believe that that's true. Because first of all, we don't know anything about human biology, most of us, and even people who have studied it for 10 years at university sometimes don't know quite the importance of, what you're talking about, insulin and the stress hormone, cortisol. And to hear what you're saying, for me, it makes sense because I've spent the last 10 years like immersing myself in that
Right.
world. But for
Hmm.
people who are hearing it for the first time, it just sounds like gobbledygook.
Well, I'm wondering too, the Western, and I think of Canada, obviously, but it's not in the US, it's part of North America. But, and I know you've socialized medicine. So do you all rely on your doctors like we do in the US? Like he or she has all the answers and you shouldn't talk to, because that's the pushback I get, Netta. People say, well, my doctor didn't tell me that,
Yeah.
even though they have a belly this big, or that my insulin's bad. And I go,
Yeah.
oh,
I
if
mean,
your doctor
don't
doesn't
ask me
know.
personally if I rely on my doctor because you can probably guess my answer. I feel sorry for him having me as a patient. But generally speaking, the people that I talk to, yeah, it feels like obviously they're going to listen to their doctor way before they listen to me or you.
And we're not giving medical advice. I'm just giving practical advice how to live longer and feel better. Like, I know I had someone gave me a little gift card for a spa service, and so I had the dermaplaning. That's when they take this tiny, tiny, tiny razor and they get any peach fuzz you have. And as you age, sometimes you get a little peach fuzz. And I take testosterone supplementation, so it wasn't much. And the girl, and I do a vitiligo on all over my face and hands and body, and so she had not worked with anyone with vitiligo. That's the autoimmune condition that Michael Jackson said he had with the white spots. You really get spots.
Okay.
You don't get your whole face. So when she was on my face, I said, "Don't worry, that's just vitiligo. Like you hadn't missed something. You hadn't done anything." She went, "Okay." And so we started talking. She said, so she asked me about my sunscreen use. And I'm 62 and I really have good skin. And I'm out in the sun every day.
Huh.
And she said, what does your dermatologist say if you're not going to wear sunscreen? I went, why do I need to go to a dermatologist? I mean, I don't have any questionable moles. I don't have that kind of skin that's cancery, moly at all. I went, I mean, it took me aback because I thought she thinks that like the dermatologist is going to come to my house, I guess, and slather sunscreen on me every day because that's what the rule book says. And I said, well, that stuff is often carcinogenic. A lot of it was pulled. That's the good thing about what you and I talk about. You can back any of mine up with research. I, I'm not a charlatan just making up things you're not buying, I'm not selling you anything.
Hmm.
I'm selling you good health for the low, low price of free for
Hmm.
you to make the choices to say, you know what, I'm going to get as much sun as I can. Now you're in such a northern altitude. It's really hard. And we talked about that on my podcast, really hard for
Yeah.
you to get as much vitamin D as you probably need. I am below 39 degrees latitude, which we do have vitamin D pretty much year round, not a whole lot in the winter months. But the girl was just so shocked that I wasn't under a hat walking to the grocery store that now I'm like, no, girl, I'm trying to get it. And it makes my vitiligo show up more.
Yeah.
And I don't care because my vitamin D is good.
It's it's kind of like there's a group of us, in a relatively large group, I would say, who are rebellious as a personality in general,
Mhm.
but also not so much rebellious of, sticking it to the medical profession. It's not at all. I mean, I have the greatest respect.
Me too.
More about having this capacity just to question and to
That's it.
educate ourselves.
That's it. My husband always says, he says, Lisa, you come across as a contrarian. And I go, no, I'm so agreeable. He goes, no, you're not.
Yeah.
He goes, everything that it's told, everything that's out there, you're saying that's not true. And I
Yeah.
go, oh, because I'm not, I don't want to be difficult. I want to be liked. It's sadly a function of my personality. But the older I've gotten, the more I've realized I can't change anybody. And if this is all I say, so these people were at our party last night, and I heard my husband talking to them because the girl said she had high blood pressure, and he said, "Well, these hibiscus leaves. I've been drinking hibiscus tea for years, and it's brought my blood pressure down." The question was, "What does your doctor say?" And we go, "Well, we don't have to call him every time we poop. I mean, we only go if we have a broken leg." And that's kind of what he was telling her was, "Well, we really don't have a team of doctors. Only if something is broken. If I definitely obviously had a broken leg or
Mm.
God forbid had a cardiovascular issue, but there are a lot of times I wouldn't go because not that I go to the internet, but I go back to kind of how God designed us too.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is more sunlight, those things like that.
And there's things like that. And part of that is no sugar or less sugar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
I often say, I was going to ask you how much sugar you ate, but you know what? I don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
First of all, it's none of my business, but also,
yeah,
it's like we're not going to start quantifying things and judging you on
because
some.
it makes it a righteous pursuit. And
Right.
that it's the same thing I feel with fasting of people saying, I think I got to a point where I was over fasting for the prideful statement of, well, I haven't eaten in 2 days. Well,
Mm.
yeah, I was wrecking my cortisol. So it didn't benefit me. Now, not eating sugar for 2 months is a wonderful thing, but I'm saying I have to be careful not to hang the banner high that look how special I am. No,
Yeah.
it's everybody's journey is unique
Yeah.
and it's getting there. But I do want people, that's just it. I don't care what anyone does with their body. I don't give medical advice, but I just tell them, I just say, have you considered? Did you know? It's the same thing with the you know what inoculation without saying the V word
Oh, right.
with the jab was when people say, well, are you going to you're going to get it? And I went, well, I had it. I was one of the first media people that had it in 2020. I went, no. And same thing. If I had the chicken pox, I wouldn't take that vaccine. I mean, I've already had the chicken pox. I said, but this isn't about me. It's You make sure you have the information, you feel good about it. And a lot of people have come back and said, you told me that information, I still took it, and now I have ramifications from it. And so they've said, okay, I need to look more into things and not believe the media and do your own health journey, your own research.
Yeah, and that, like, for some of us that's easier said than done, in the sense that I'm a college teacher, so it kind of comes as
Oh,
second
yeah.
to do that kind of research, which it isn't for everybody. But also that you have to be able to understand the information that you're uncovering, and that in
That's true.
itself, even for me, that was a real challenge.
That's true, because it is a new nomenclature. These are new words that people, whether something as simple as seed oils, people still say, "Now, what's a seed oil?"
Yeah,
I go, "Well, it's something that is synthetic. It's made in a factory." And that a lot of times we can say, "How did your grandparents eat?" or your great grandparents, depending how young this person is. Well, my grandmother picked things out of the garden. We had some hogs. They slaughtered them. They used the pork fat, and my grandmother had bacon every day, and she lived to 95, and her mind was sharp, and she was out in the sun all day. So we say, well, let's just go back to, if God made it, eat it.
Hmm.
I try to simplify those things, because as you're on your quest, people do get overwhelmed, Netta, with all the research and all the words and what mitigate is and who's insulin and what's your hypothalamus. And I just sometimes throw those out for the few people who have an interest in biology. They'll go, oh, the hypothalamus. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind of epicenter of the brain that controls metabolism. And then they're like, oh, and cortisol. If you have too much cortisol, you'll have a bulge around your midsection. I mean,
yeah,
that's a sign that you have
absolutely.
cortisol dysregulation. And so what that does is it points to the fact that there's a root cause, something's not right. So though the number on the scale may move down, we don't care about that. But
Hmm.
we do want your waist size under 35 inches, I think, for a woman, and 40 inches for a man in US inches. But that's still pretty, I mean, for some people, pretty big.
Yeah, yeah. If you had like one piece of golden advice for people, whether it be about intermittent fasting or sugar, what would it be?
Really, I'm going to say neither one at this point. I think the most important thing people need to do is work on their sleep,
Hmm.
because that controls your sugar cravings. Getting more sunlight controls your alpha MSH cravings. It produces an enzyme that uh, causes you to reach for more food. You reach for more carbs when you don't sleep well, when you're on your device too long. It's all disrupted. Blue light, circadian rhythms. And so if you can get women, especially women need more sleep than men. If you can get 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep, if you wake up once to pee, you're good. If you wake up twice, we need to find out what's the problem.
Okay.
But sleep well, turn off your device, put it in another room, wear blue light blockers. I have the yellow lens blue light blockers that I wear as
Uh-huh.
soon as the sun goes down, because I'm protecting my circadian rhythms and my hormones so that I sleep well. If I sleep well, I can go without sugar. I can fast a lot longer. I have more energy. I don't need a nap. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Sleep.
vice versa. You know,
Yes, yes,
I
that's
sleep
right.
really well. I never wake up at night. And that in itself, it's like it's a two-way street. Less sugar, better
Absolutely.
sleep. Better sleep, less sugar. Less craving.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm not hiding. My website and all my social media is at Lisa Fischer said. And I got that because when I was on the radio here for so long, I call myself the Oprah of Arkansas. People would shop at a store or buy a car. How'd you hear about it? Well, Lisa Fischer said. Well, I'm here because Lisa Fischer said. So people will still stop me in the street, here in Arkansas, and say, I started fasting because Lisa Fischer said.
Uh-huh.
So that is the name of my podcast, of my Instagram account, anything that I'm a part of, because if I'm saying it, I can't be bought. I'm saying it from my heart. It, and I do like helping people. I do have health coaching opportunities that they can go to my website, see the services, see the calendar, probably just like you. sign up, and then you can start your journey for good health today. As soon as you're hearing this, you can go to your device, and I might even have an opening today.
Wow, amazing. And I'll be on your podcast, or if by the time this comes
Yes.
out, maybe I already was.
Okay, I have my calendar, Netta Gorman, April 22nd, and we're recording this April 11th.
I love these exchanges. It's great. And thank you. And your story is very inspiring. And, you make things understand, like you make it so that we understand.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you so
It's
much.
not complicated. We complicated it through the years with too many variables. It goes back to nature. Sunlight is also emerging as next to sleep, to me, the second most important element of your life. Then we'll worry about your diet. But again, if you get this enough sunlight and enough sleep, it will help mediate your sugar cravings and your need for more food during the day. And it'll help you mediate and able to mitigate your intermittent fasting lifestyle.
Boom. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, wow. Loved this conversation with Lisa. Not just because she's really knowledgeable about fasting and hormones and sugar and general human biology, but because she has this way of explaining things that's not all teachery, present company accepted, but that makes us really think and understand. And once you understand why these changes make you feel better, the sunshine, the fasting, the sleeping, and the cutting of the sugar, once you understand why, and you're more aware of how you feel and how you don't want to feel, then the changes that you make, in my experience, will be more sustainable. But of course, it's much easier said than done. And that's exactly why I created the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on program at the top. You'll also find the link with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.